Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when and where you're viewing this. My name is Mike. I am the Crypto Liberal. Thanks for joining me again today. If you find anything redeeming in this video, in this stream, give me a like, give me a subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Things are gonna, I think, turn exciting here shortly. I know I've kind of mentioned that before, where we've been traveling this support line now for over 2 weeks, and I pointed out that support line over 2 weeks ago. We've held it. We're kind of just gliding along the top of it right now, and I kind of thought that maybe Monday would be our breakout. Didn't happen, so here we are a couple days later, and we still haven't broken up or broken down for that matter. So, but I think it's coming soon. We can't just sit in this $1,000 level between 29 and 30,000 for 3 weeks, can we? Maybe we can. I don't know. But it's been over 2 weeks already, so we'll see. But so let's just go look at that chart again, right? So I pointed this out over 2 weeks ago before we hit that support line. That support line we're dancing across right now, right? And it's held perfectly. We wicked below it a couple times, but we're still dancing atop it, and we haven't moved. We're just kind of sitting there, right? But I think a move up is coming, and this is, of course, Bitcoin. But if when Bitcoin moves, the rest of the market is going to move. So I think that move is coming, and again, I'm going to give it another couple days till Friday. If it doesn't move by Friday, I don't know what to tell you, but I think it's coming. I might have been a few days off on my prediction, but we'll see. We'll see. So yesterday was a tough day. I know not many people watched my stream. I'm just new at doing this, right? But so that was kind of difficult. I didn't talk about crypto much, talked about the events of yesterday. But there were things I wanted to bring up yesterday, so let's just bring them up today, right? And I'm not gonna give up on talking about gun control and what should be done in that space, because that's not me, and that's not what a crypto liberal should do. But so let's go talk about some of our favorite senators. Right? So this is one thing I wanted to talk about yesterday. Is we have this bill, or not a? It's a, I guess it is a bill that Senators Loomis, gun nut, right, and Senator Gillibrand out of New York, not a gun nut. They're set to propose a bipartisan crypto oversight bill next month, and they hope that the bill will establish guardrails around the digital assets industry, and maybe get some voting on it next year. And here's what Gillibrand had to say about it. We are truly committed to creating the type of baseline and framework legislation that will allow this industry to grow, allow it to flourish. The best thing we can do for all these businesses is to bring clarity. And that bill would lean on the CFTC as the primary regulator for spot markets and futures, while leaving the SEC as a supervisor of I think I have it on the next page here, as the supervisor of the crypto that can be defined by the so-called Hawley test of securities. So any crypto that are securities, like right now, we know for a fact that Bitcoin and Ethereum are not securities. They're commodities. It's similar to gold, right? So depending on whether it's specific cryptos defined as a security or a commodity will depend on who the regulator is between the CFTC and the SEC. The legislation would also clarify that crypto mining would not be regulated under rules for broker-dealers. And that's the result of some controversy that came up on the infrastructure bill last year, if some of you recall, where there was some crypto provisions in there, and they put in a provision that seemed to indicate that crypto miners might be considered broker-dealers and need to register with, for example, the SEC as a broker-dealer. And that hasn't gone into effect yet, and the Congress has been talking about correcting those provisions before they do go into effect. So presumably this bill would correct that. So the bill is still being drafted, but an optimistic Gillibrand said she expects to get Senate votes next year at the latest. It would have to clear 4 different committees, of which Gillibrand and Loomis are members of only 2. Loomis said an advantage of working on crypto legislation is that it's not inherently partisan. though she said of writing this bill that it's so important we get it right the first time. And I think we would all agree with that, right? They need to get it right the first time. But I want to point out the fact that crypto is bipartisan. Support for crypto, support for Bitcoin, support for Cardano is bipartisan. There are people on both sides of the aisle that support it. People on both sides of the aisle, frankly, that aren't the biggest fans. So that's why you will never get me to like somebody like Senator Loomis, even though she is supportive of crypto. She is pro-insurrectionist, right? Doesn't believe that what happened on January 6th of 2021 was an insurrection where, hundreds, if not thousands of people invaded the Capitol grounds and killed security people, right? And invaded Congress, and made our senators and representatives and vice president run for their literal lives. So she doesn't believe that that was an insurrectionist attempt led by who. And she's a pro-gun nut. On the day after 19, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids were murdered. So whoever would replace Loomis, which isn't going to happen, right, would just as likely be supportive of crypto. And so I'm not going to sit here and praise Loomis because there are other things wrong with her. And I'm not a one issue voter, regardless of what their position is on crypto. So anyway, getting off of them, I think, and that's one thing I hope they get that bill announced, because hey, we'll dig into it. I do have a law background, a legal background, so I'd love to get my hands on the bill and see what it says, and stick with me, like the channel, subscribe, and when that bill comes out, maybe we'll have some detailed discussion around what's in it, what's bad about it, what's good about it. So I'll love to get my fingers into the bill. That's what I've done for years and years in my career is read bills and try to understand their complexity and how they apply to the businesses that I supported as a consultant. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is, everybody on this channel knows I'm a believer in Cardano over Ethereum over Bitcoin, in that order. I invest really in 3 cryptos, and in that order. And that's because I think Cardano and Ethereum have a brighter future. You get a better return on investment by investing in those 2 protocols over Bitcoin. Not that I don't like Bitcoin, but I just think, your return on investments can be better on ADA and Ethereum. But with this one article I came across today on Twitter, just kind of interested me, right? It talks about how Bitcoin helps solve unemployment in Africa. And as most of you know, that have watched my videos, I always talk about the reasons I like Cardano and Ethereum over Bitcoin is because they can be enhanced. You can build things on them, right? You build dApps and DeFi and all sorts of underlying protocols on Ethereum and Cardano. And I've always said Bitcoin just lies there, right? And you don't want a girlfriend or a boyfriend, whatever the case may be, that just lies there. I want somebody that takes an active interest in what's going on, right? So this article interested me because how can you say that Bitcoin is going to help solve unemployment in Africa? So I'm like, well, what kind of employment are these people gonna enter into? So here's one thing. So they start with some facts. African youth make up the largest demographic of the continent, and yet they suffer the most due to underrepresentation in the government. However, and this is the meme that I hate, Bitcoin fixes this. How does Bitcoin fix this, you may ask? So they say the idea whose time has come has unlocked the full potential of African youth who are set not only to contribute to hyper-Bitcoinization directly, but most importantly, make ends meet for their kin while thriving, not surviving. What? How are they going to get employed in the Bitcoin atmosphere, or in the Bitcoin world, right? Well, I mean, what kind of jobs are we talking about here? It's funny, right? So Bitcoin, what are these jobs that they're talking about? Well, peer-to-peer Bitcoin trading is one avenue that African youth have embraced, thus creating a source of income. This is driven by number go up technology. It hasn't gone up much in the past 6 months, right? And the weak African currencies compared to the United States dollar. Platforms such as Paxful Peer go the extra mile to help people earn by onboarding their friends and acquaintances. Now we're starting to sound like Amway here, right? Moreover, there are various resources to help everyone best learn to trade. So one of their avenues to employment in the Bitcoin world is to trade back and forth. You know, so if somebody's gaining on trade, somebody might be losing, right? And what would these people have done in the last 6 months by trading? Probably not very good, right? So that's not a job. That's not a Bitcoin job, right? And you know, I've put it out there many times. Do not trade on leverage. So if that's what this article is intimating, that you know Bitcoin can provide people the ability to trade on leverage in Africa, that's not a job. So what else can they do? What can Bitcoin do, right? So let's see here. We got. There are many talented African youth, and I know there are many, millions, and young adults who have taken the time to learn about Bitcoin and thus have started creating content to educate the continent. Most of them were jobless or were overworked with the stress of their 9-to-5 jobs, thus have made a conscious decision to work full-time to produce Bitcoin educational content. The best part is through multiple applications like Fountain App, they can directly earn sats from their listeners and thus not depend on platforms such as YouTube, who could potentially deplatform them. Really? Really? So these are the jobs that they're talking about that the Bitcoin fixes, right? You can trade it, yeah, or you can be an influencer, and you know, hey, I'm doing the influencing thing. I'm not an influencer. I have 0 followers, right? And really, I can only name probably 5 influencers on YouTube, off the top of my head, and those are worldwide, right? A couple of them I think live in UAE or wherever, and so we're talking 5 jobs and maybe 5 more in Africa. I mean, Bitcoin doesn't fix this. Bitcoin is you know, trading and influencer are not things that are going to fix unemployment in Africa. So, but you know what would? You know what does? It's Cardano. And I've talked about this on my channel before. World Mobile. Go to this Twitter feed. Go to World Mobile. They actually are fixing something that will eventually lead to job growth in Africa. And I've talked about it on my channel before, so go back and look at some prior videos to learn about it a little bit more. But World Mobile is basically on the back of Cardano. The Cardano platform is connecting the unconnected. And it's truly revolutionary. Truly revolutionary. So what they're doing is there are literally billions of people that aren't connected to the internet. And on the backs of Cardano, World Mobile is getting those people connected through various means, in a economical way that has never been done before. And literally there are billions of people across the world that don't have access to the internet. And so when they get access to the internet, right, all of a sudden you can get them banked, because right now they're most likely don't have a bank account if don't have access to the internet. You can get them health services that maybe they don't have access to. They can start up companies that they can't start up, and companies that reach worldwide reach, right? I mean, they could sell things to people in America, but they don't have the ability to do that right now because they don't have internet access. Billions of people we're talking, and World Mobile is starting in Africa, and they can expand it certainly further to Asia, South America, other places where there, some of those billions of people that don't have internet access reside today. And that is all being done on Cardano. Cardano actually fixes this. Cardano actually fixes unemployment in Africa. Cardano and Ethereum do what Bitcoin can't. Bitcoin just lies there. Not that there's anything wrong with that, right? Bitcoin, I've said this, is my stable coin. That's my stable coin. But your return on investment, because of the things that Cardano and Ethereum can actually fix, problems that have existed for decades that nobody has been able to solution for, can be fixed on the backs of Cardano and Ethereum. So that is why I'm so excited about the possibilities associated with Cardano and Ethereum over Bitcoin. So that's the second thing I wanted to point out. The next thing I wanted to discuss is why I think the next couple days could be very important as far as upwards movement for crypto, starting with Bitcoin and Ethereum and Cardano following, right? Today, again, Cardano, Bitcoin, Ethereum have just they're still moving sideways. They're not really moving much, but the market today kind of went up. And so let's look at that real quick, right? You had the NASDAQ up 1.5%, the Dow up 0.6%, S&P up basically 1%. And usually the past several months when the NASDAQ is up 1.5%, Bitcoin and the other cryptos are up more, a little bit more, maybe 2-3%. And when the NASDAQ has been going down every day, 2%, Bitcoin and crypto have been going down 2-3-4%, right? So it's kind of weird today that Bitcoin didn't go up, but and it kind of traded sideways. But I think it might change here. So some of the news that kind of was driving the increase in the stock market today was the Federal Reserve minutes were released today. And basically, I'm not going to read from this, but basically it came out that the Fed, they've been raising rates. Last month they did a 50 bips or a 0.5% increase in the Fed funds rate. Say that 5 times fast. And this article, or basically their minutes, confirms that they're pretty unanimous, the Fed, that they will raise the rates again another 50 bips or 0.5% at their next 2 meetings. And those are, I think, the beginning of, like June 8th or something like that. And then beginning of July, somewhere in there. So that's to be expected, right? And I think that the market saw this and said, okay, well, they're coming out and they're doing what we've expected them to do. So it was kind of a relief that they're not doing something worse. They didn't come out and say, oh my God, inflation's out of control, we're going to raise it 5%, right? They're just doing what's been expected of them, 0.5, the next 2, and then probably reevaluate. So that's good, right? The market went up after those minutes were released. It kind of went up and went down, went up and went down, and finally decided to go up a little bit. So we'll see. Keep an eye on, in a couple hours, the futures come out for tomorrow. And so we'll see what those have in store for us tomorrow. Again, they can fluctuate. So might start up looking green, but by tomorrow morning, they could be red. So just kind of keep an eye on those. But some things are coming out this week that will definitely impact the stock market, and as a result, also impact crypto, right? So keep an eye on for these. On Thursday, the Commerce Department is due to release its second take on first quarter GDP. So as you remember, I think it was about a month ago, the first quarter GDP was announced at negative 1.4%. And I think the analysts were expecting, not a decrease, but an actual increase of 1 point something, right? So this was kind of a shocker. But this is going to be a second kind of crack at the nut here. And we'll see if it comes in. Maybe it'll come in at uh, negative 1.4 again, and that might have a negative impact on the market. Or who kind of knows at this point, because the if it goes down more, if it's negative 1.8 or something, that might fuel the market, because they might think that the work of of cracking down inflation is being done by the economy itself, right? That it's slowing down so much, so the inflation won't be increasing as much, and maybe the market would look at a greater decrease in the GDP as a signal to the Fed to not raise rates by as much. But just keep an eye on this, because when they announce this, it could have a significant impact on the market and crypto. And then maybe the more important one is Friday here, right? Friday, the personal consumption expenditures report comes out, which will provide further clues regarding consumer spending and whether inflation peaked in March, as other indicators have suggested. So that's going to be a big, big thing on Friday, is if that number comes in higher than expected, the market might freak out and say, inflation isn't coming down. And that number kind of is like a leading indicator of the CPI, which is like the big headline number of inflation that comes out every month. And for the first time in a year, practically, it went down last month by 0.2% or something, right? So this number, while it's not the CPI and not really like the headline that everybody watches, is kind of a leading indicator of CPI. So kind of keep an eye open on that on Friday. See if that comes in lower than expected, because my anticipation is that inflation has peaked, and especially when you start looking at all these earnings reports from the stock market, the companies are reporting worse than the expected earnings and revenue, and so I think things are slowing down, which is going to have basically the effect of slowing demand, right? And which will hopefully reduce prices and lower inflation. But don't expect the Fed to back off, right? They're gonna still do those 250 bips rate increases the next 2 months, and I don't think we should expect anything less. So just keep an eye open for that. Those two figures that are coming out this week, tomorrow and Friday, because they will have a big impact. But my anticipation is still, right, that this week, I mean, we're still sitting at 29,726 right here on Bitcoin, right? I think this week we are going to start seeing some movement. And that means by Friday. If it doesn't happen by Friday, we go into the weekend and all bets are off. And it's a long weekend in the United States, right, with Memorial Day. So it might be 3 days of just additional sideways action. So I'm still anticipating, and I'm going to say it again, I'm still anticipating that we are going to hold that support line. And I'm still of the opinion that we're not going down to 20K for Bitcoin. We're not going down to 15K for Bitcoin. That's what I've been saying well before we got down to that support line, and I told you that support line would hold. Give me a like, give me a subscribe if you agree. If I'm wrong, I will be the first to come back here and tell you I blew it. But so far I'm not. So that's all I have for today. We need to protect our kids. We need to protect our kids. And there's a bill that passed years ago in the House of Representatives, a couple of years ago, that just simply enacts some background checks. And it's sitting at the Senate, not being voted upon, because there are 50 Republican senators. Don't believe this crap that this is a both sides issue, right? I put out some tweets, and I know some people responded saying, well, Democrats haven't done anything. That's because there's one party. It's people that don't understand how government works, right? There's one party that can hold up everything unless you get a super majority. You can't just get 50 in the Senate. There's 100 senators. You don't need just 51 votes. You need 60 votes. And the Democrats don't have 60 votes because there's 50 Republicans that hold up anything they want, basically. It's disgusting that they don't do a thing when there's 19 babies lying in puddles of blood that they could stop, that they could do something about, and they refuse to lift a finger. It's just utterly disgusting. So that's my rant for today. No tears today. I made it through without tears today. I didn't yesterday, so forgive me for yesterday. Anyway, I love you all. Let's band together as crypto liberals to ensure that crypto moves forward, but also ensure that our representatives in Congress and in the state houses do the will of the people, because unless they're held accountable, nothing will change. And that starts with us, right? Us, you. You need to vote. You need to vote the effers out. If they're not going to do anything about gun violence to little babies in this country who are simply at school, they need to be voted out. That's it. That's it for me today. I love you all. Thank you for watching. Give me a like. Give me a subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at @crypto_liberal for more updates. I provide more updates there throughout the day. And that's all I have. I will be back again tomorrow. I love you all. Thank you for watching. Give me a like. Give me a subscribe. I am Mike. I'm the Crypto Liberal. Have a good night.